Hello everybody and welcome to Wine Library TV. I am your host, Gary Vaynerchuk. Today's episode is dedicated to Steve Verlin. The wine hoe, as Robert Parker anointed him, was one of the greatest people I ever ran into in the wine industry. Yesterday I got the very sad news that Steve Verlin had passed in his sleep midday, and it's really sent a shock in the inner circles of the wine industry. Steve was one of the major collectors of the industry, and some of the greatest wines I've ever had, including 47 Cheval Blanc and 61 Petrus, were drank because of Steve Verlin's enormous generosity. I'm sure you'll be reading a lot about it in the New York metro area, since Steve was a partner at Veritas Restaurant, one of the top wine restaurants in the country, let alone New York City. And so for that reason, today I'm doing 4 Bordeaux wines in honor of Steve, who was an amazingly big Bordeaux fan. And that's it. That's what I have to say. So, first wine of the day is the Chateau Sansonnet 2001 Saint-Emilion. This wine is a $30 retail Saint-Emilion, and it's an 88-point Wine Spectator wine. Saint-Emilion is one of the classic areas in all of Bordeaux. It's a right bank wine, mainly Merlot based. I know a lot of you know that most Bordeaux don't put their actual blends on the label, something that I hope WLTV and the viewers and we can rally and get these people to start putting on the back label. I think it will help a lot of consumers, and that's really what we're all in it for. So let's get to the Sansonnet. Really medium bodied color, nothing too crazy. Has a little bit of a charcoal nose, really interesting, a little bit of chalk. Nice raspberry coat to that as well. Nice nose. Very dry. Has a sour berry kind of taste to it. Big complexity. A lot of fruit. Nice long finish. Not a wine that you want to drink by itself. This is definitely a food wine, but this wine's showing really well. I like the acidity. I like the mid palate. It's a nice wine. I think Spectator 88 is fair. Maybe bump it up to an 89 to 90. And for $29.99, a great bottle of Bordeaux. Shows a lot of character. Nice wine. Let's move on. This is the Chateau Beyzac. And this is a Haut, 91 points Parker, $24, 2003 vintage. This is 55% Cabernet, left bank wine. Great color. 91 Parker, which is a great score. Very deep, dark color. Not much of a nose at all. These wines have been open for about 2.5 hours, so they've had a nice aeration. Yeah, nothing at all though. Really nothing. Solid flavor of cassis, black currant, a little bit of leather. Well complex made wine. Interesting mid palate. There's a little Petit Verdot in this, that's helping to the color. I'm also getting a little taste of a little woodiness, a little cedar. Nice wine, not blowing me away. Considering 91 RP, I would have expected a little bit more. Just not doing it much for me. I'm going to say pass, 87 points. Just nothing really going on there. Let's move on. This right here is the 2003 Chateau. Got it? Chateau, Labegorce, Margaux. Margaux is one of the great famous vineyards in all the world. You know, Margaux is just an amazing area in Bordeaux. This is a 90-point Spectator or Parker, 90-point Spectator wine. Interesting floral nose mixed with a little bit of terroir aspect flavors. I always get in trouble every time I say that, but a little bit of, dirty flowers, dirty roses, roses with some mud on it. Nice complexity. Has some of that nice brownness flavors that I like to call smoked oak. Kind of real deep dark cherry. Well made, very complex. Nice wine. Solid wine. 88 to 89 points. Very drinkable. a good example of what a classic silky Margaux is, but just not over the top, not too exceptional. I would not recommend it, even the 90-point score. Let's move on. Chateau Lynch Moussas, 2003 Pauillac. Pauillac is one of the most famous areas in all of Bordeaux. Again, a right bank wine. Three of the five first groats are Pauillac wines. Lynch Moussas makes great wine. 90-point Spectator, $25. Wonderful color, almost all Cabernet. Most interesting nose by far. Smoked bacon, a little bit of a tar aspect, a little asphalt, a little cherry. Nice. Wow. Big wine, very complex, very rich. A lot of flavor going on, very smooth on the palate, silky smooth finish, excellent bottle of wine. Really nice actually, really ripe cherry on the finish. I really enjoy that. And I would highly recommend that. 90 points I think is right on target. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, this is a tough episode for me. We lost a dear friend of ours who was a great customer and a great man. Just want to share a quick story about Steve Verlin before I head out. First time Steve ever came into the wine library, he walked in with combat boots and a leather jacket, a jean jacket that had a Grateful Dead print on it, and walked through the store dragging mud throughout the wine library. And one of my guys came up to me and said, "Do you want me to keep an eye on this guy? You know, just a classic, is this guy going to steal something?" I said, "No, let him be." And the reason I did was when he walked by me, I noticed the Wine Advocate, the Parker logo, on his jacket. So obviously he was a wine fan. I had heard of Steve through my whole career. I've always known about him. He lived very locally, about 20 minutes away, and I knew all about him, and he's one of the major wine collectors in the world. I had several customers who were acquaintances of his that would always say, "Why don't I give you his phone number? Why don't you call him? Why don't you tell him to come down to the store and check out what you've done, how you've changed the wine library?" I never wanted to. I always wanted my changes to force him to come to the store. I always wanted to make the best wine shop in the world and force him to come to my store. Little did I know that big 6'4" guy walking through my store that looked more like a WWF wrestler was the Steve Verlin. Finally, about 15 minutes in, he was in the wine room and he called me over. He called somebody over. I happened to come. Steve went on to buy almost every Magnum and 3-liter in our entire wine room at the time. An enormous sale. He introduced himself. I finally met the Steve Verlin. I spent 4 to 5 years tasting some of the greatest wines of my life with him, and his passing has hit me very hard, and I want to raise a glass to Steve Verlin. You'll be missed very, very much, my friend. We'll see you next time on WLTV.